With so many different perks and weapons in Destiny 2 to choose from, it can be quite hard to know exactly which ones you should be using. You've obviously got the normal meta guns that everyone uses, but there are quite a few different and rare combinations of weapon perks that are really good together that a lot of players don't even realize are out there. A rare but perfect example of this is when you can get a weapon with 2 damage boosting perks on the gun. So in today's video, I want to cover 10 unique weapons that have amazing perk combinations that you can only get on these specific weapons. Some of these perk combinations are really effective and actually a very good gun that you should be using, while some of them are just unique but kinda cool to just try out. So without further ado, let's get straight into the list. Let's start off with the Word of Cota. Now playing Destiny, everyone loves explosions, and the Word of Cota is the perfect weapon for this. The unique and rare perk combination on the Word of Cota is Destabilizing Rounds and Dragonfly. There's only a handful of weapons in the game that can actually get these 2 perks on them, and the Word of Cota is one of them. As we all know, Dragonfly will make the enemies explode in the same element of the weapon, so the Word of Cota being Void will make a Void explosion. Now pairing this with Destabilizing Rounds is whenever enemies die, it makes the enemies around them become volatile. So if you are playing a Void subclass and you are killing them with Dragonfly, they will explode and then cause everything also around them to become volatile, which will also then blow up. But that's not all that this weapon can do. As you also may know, the origin trait for all of the Cota weapons is Cursed Thrall, which says after defeating a target with a melee, final blows from this weapon will cause the target to explode. So yes, just with this single weapon and these perk combinations, once you kill one enemy, you will have a triple explosion per kill. One from Dragonfly, one from the volatile rounds, and then one from the Cursed Thrall origin trait. This weapon is completely busted, and I definitely recommend you go and grind out and get one for yourself. Now the next weapon is a endless shooting scout rifle called the Aisha's Embrace. This weapon is obtainable through the Trials of Osiris, but this has one of the most unique weapon perk combinations in the entire game. This is a Void rapid fire scout rifle which can roll with the perks Triple Tap and 4th times the charm. Triple Tap will give you 1 ammo back after you've shot 3 precision headshots, whereas 4 times the charm will give you 2 ammo back every single time you score 4 precision hits. So with just these 2 perks together, you can endlessly shoot this gun around, and it is actually extremely fun. It may not be that useful, but it is still unique and quite fun to use. Unfortunately, you will eventually run out of ammo, but that won't stop you from just reloading and continually shooting all over again. This one is actually pretty effective to use inside of Grandmaster Nightfalls when you just sit at the back of the map and slowly poke all the bosses down. This one can also roll with the Adept roll, so you can even put Adept big ones on it as well. The next weapon is the Tyrant of Heaven from the Last Wish raid, which is a combat bow. Now this bow is an explosion machine. The 2 perks you can roll with this one is Dragonfly and Incandescent. As I stated before, Dragonfly, once killed with a precision kill, will explode with elemental damage of that weapon type. Now the Tyranny of Heaven is solar, meaning every headshot is going to explode in a solar elemental damage. Pairing this with Incandescent will also cause that target to explode while spreading Scorch everywhere, making other enemies get scorched, and then they will also eventually ignite. This weapon is extremely fun to use when you're just killing normal red bar enemies. There is just absolutely explosions everywhere, and it is extremely effective at killing these ads. This one is craftable and it comes from the Last Wish raid, like I said before. The next weapon on this list is definitely one of the rarest weapons in the entire game, but it is also one of the most effective weapons in the entire game. This weapon is the Ignition Code from the Dares of Eternity activity. This weapon by far has some of the best perk combinations that you could ever use on a weapon inside of Destiny 2 for endgame content. These 2 perks are Disorientating Grenades and Slide Shot. Disorientating Grenades obviously disorientates enemies, making them useless in all of your activities. It just blinds them and they literally can't do anything. Now, as you may know, Slide Shot is a reloading perk. Now, when you slide with a grenade launcher, it refills the magazine instantly. And Slide Shot is not the same as Slideways. Slide Shot will proc endlessly and there is no cooldown on it. So with Slide Shot and Disorientating Grenades, you can endlessly slide around and spam out Disorientating Grenades, blinding every single enemy in the entire game so that it renders them useless and nothing can kill you. This is especially effective for Contest Day 1 raids, Grandmaster Nightfalls, or any other endgame activity in Destiny. Now, I've had my Ignition Code for quite a while now, and mine actually has Concussion Grenades instead of Disorientating Grenades, but these perks are basically the exact same thing. Now, I do believe you can't get it to roll with concussion grenades anymore, so you're going to have to go for disorientating grenade and slide shot. This weapon is extremely fun to use, and if you haven't got one, maybe consider farming it, but beware, you may be doing this for a while. Another fun weapon that you can use, which is craftable, and I assume most players watching this probably already have, it is the Apex Predator. Now, everyone would be thinking I'm talking about reconstruction and bait and switch, but no, I'm actually talking about reconstruction and bipod. With these two perk combinations together, you can have 4 rounds in one magazine. You can then dump those 4 bullets, and then once you reload, it's going to put 2 into the magazine, and the reconstruction is going to proc straight away, giving you 7 rockets to endlessly shoot, which is pretty effective. Now, is this useful? Yes and no, it can be depending on what activity you're doing. This weapon is actually quite effective in a Grandmaster Nightfall when you are trying to burst down a champion within a couple seconds before the stun wears off. But outside of actually trying to burst down enemies, if you're trying to do damage with a rocket launcher, you don't really want to be using bipod as it reduces the damage. This weapon with these rolls is more or less just a fun weapon to try out and kinda troll your friends by endlessly shooting rockets. They might even think you're hacking. The next weapon is one of very few rare weapons in the game that can actually get 2 damage boosting perks on the gun. This weapon is the Doom of Challis. The gold roll for this gun is Explosive Payload and Frenzy. Now, both of these perks will boost the damage of the gun, which is very rare for a gun inside of Destiny. The Doom of Challis is actually one of the best scout rifles in the game because of these 2 damage boosting perks, and it is one of my favorites to use whenever I want to use a scout rifle. Being Void as well, it works especially well when you're using a Void subclass, and you can pair in there with volatile rounds. This one comes from the Kingsfall raid, and I absolutely love this roll, and if you haven't got one, I seriously recommend you do it. Now, the next gun is very similar to the Doom of Challis in the fact that it can roll with 2 damage boosting perks, and this is the Fatebringer in the Time Lost version. The 2 perks are the exact same as the Doom of Challis, Explosive Payload and also Frenzy. With hand cannons definitely being the meta go-to guns nowadays, having a hand cannon with double weapon damage boosting perks makes the Fatebringer a sought after weapon. When you're doing activities where enemies just have that little bit more health than normal, having 2 damage boosting perks is especially needed, and it makes this gun very, very good. Unfortunately, I haven't been lucky enough to get my roll, so here's just some footage of the normal Fatebringer. Now, you know how I mentioned the Apex Predator before with reconstruction and bipod? Yeah, well, the Cold Comfort can do this roll even better. This weapon could roll with Envious Assassin and also bipod if you can be lucky enough to get this roll. So with these 2 perks on this gun, it will give you 5 rockets into one magazine, and very similar to the Apex Predator, once you reload with that bipod, it's going to give you 2 extra rockets right off the rip, meaning you can dump 7 rockets. This weapon is just a complete meme. I don't have this roll, so I can't actually show you any footage of this, but it is still funny, and if you get it, definitely keep it. Well, considering we're talking about weapons that can endlessly shoot, we may as well mention the Supremacy from the Last Wish raid. Now, the 2 perks for this gun that you can roll with is Rewind Rounds and 4th times the Charm. With these 2 weapon perks together, you can unload every single bullet that you can manage to hold in this gun with special reserves as well. Depending on what mods and perks you are running, you can roughly hold between 24 and 30 rounds, and you can comfortably dump every single bullet without having to stop shooting or even reloading. Funnily enough, this weapon actually does really good damage, and I definitely recommend you get it for any sniper meta that is coming around in the future. Now, to finally wrap this list up, I want to mention the Lingering Dread grenade launcher. Now, the role that I'm going to go for on this one is the auto-loading holster and Vorpal weapon. Funnily enough, this weapon is actually extremely useful to add into a damage rotation if you are using it. Being in the primary slot and with auto-loading holster, you can just shoot 1 bullet, put it away, and then switch to your other 2 weapons and do damage. Adding Vorpal into the mix will give you a 15% damage boost inside of PvE to bosses. And just by shooting 1 grenade launcher and putting it away and reloading, this weapon will actually very much improve your damage while DPSing bosses. It's a pretty unique role for a primary stasis grenade launcher, and I thought I'd throw it on the list. But anyway, Guardians, that will wrap the list up there. There are 10 great weapons with amazing perk combinations that you may or may not have even known about. Some of these weapons that I actually mentioned on this list are really, really effective at what they do, and I definitely recommend you try and get them, whereas some of the other weapons on this list are a bit of a meme and they're just fun to use. But anyway, Guardians, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video or you have a rare weapon with special perks on it, let me know in the comments down below and I'll see if I can make a part 2. But again, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Later.